Here's the thing about being a military wife. You learn to live with absence. You learn to celebrate birthdays alone, to sleep on the empty side of the bed, to answer your daughter's questions about daddy with a smile that doesn't reach your eyes. You learn to pretend that you're not scared every time the phone rings after 9 p.m. You learn to tell yourself that he's fine, that he's coming home, that this time is no different from all the other times. You learn to live with the fear because the alternative is unbearable. I was a military wife for 10 years. 10 years of deployments, of moving across the country, of packing boxes and unpacking boxes, and never quite feeling like anywhere was home. 10 years of loving a man who belonged to his country more than he belonged to me. And then, on a Tuesday afternoon in March, the fear that I had been suppressing for a decade finally caught up with me. 2 officers in dress uniforms knocked on my door. I knew why they were there before they said a word. Every military wife knows. It's a knowledge that lives in your bones, in the pit of your stomach, in the way your heart stops beating for just a second when you see the crisp uniforms through the window. Mrs. Henderson? Yes. May we come in? I stepped aside. They walked into my living room. My daughter, Emma, was at school. She was 7 years old. She had her father's eyes. The Department of Defense extends its deepest condolences. Is he dead? The younger officer's face crumpled. The older one put his hand on my arm. Sergeant First Class Michael Henderson was killed in action yesterday during a military operation in Eastern Europe. He died a hero, Mrs. Henderson. He saved the lives of 3 of his men. I didn't cry. I couldn't. The tears were there, somewhere deep inside me, but they wouldn't come. I just stood in my living room, in my house in Tacoma, Washington, and stared at the 2 men in uniform. What happened? We can't share the details right now. Operational security. But we will tell you everything as soon as we can. I nodded. I didn't understand. I didn't want to understand. Is there someone we can call for you? My sister. Kate. She lives in Seattle. We'll call her. We'll stay with you until she arrives. They stayed. They made me tea. They sat in uncomfortable silence while I stared at the wall. I didn't cry. Not then. Not for hours. The tears came later. When Kate arrived. When she held me. When my daughter came home from school and asked why Mommy was sad. Daddy died, sweetheart. What does that mean? It means he's not coming home. Ever again. Emma didn't cry either. She just looked at me with those eyes, his eyes, and said, "Is he with Jesus now?" "Yes, baby. He's with Jesus." She nodded, satisfied, and went to her room to play. Children don't understand death the way adults do. They think it's temporary. A long trip. A journey with a return ticket. I wished I could be that naive. But I knew the truth. He wasn't coming back. Not ever. Welcome back to Gentle Drama. Get comfortable. Grab your coffee. The people in this story had every chance to do the right thing. They just didn't. Drop a comment and tell us. What city are you watching from, and how old are you? And be sure to subscribe. You're not going to believe what Kate found in Michael's things. Michael and I met at a bar near Fort Lewis. I was 23. He was 26. He was handsome in that rugged, confident way that military men have. He bought me a drink. He made me laugh. He told me he was deploying in 3 weeks. So this is a bad time to start something, I said. Or the best time. You'll have 3 weeks to decide if you can handle it. Handle what? The distance. The uncertainty. The fear. I should have run. I should have paid for my own drink and walked out and never looked back. But I didn't. Because there was something about him, something steady, something honest, that made me believe he was different. He was different. Just not in the way I thought. We got married 6 months after he returned from that deployment. Small ceremony. Courthouse. No white dress, no church, no 300 guests. Just us and a few friends, and a judge who smelled like menthol cigarettes. Are you sure? He asked before we said I do. I've never been more sure of anything. I was 24. I was in love. I was an idiot. The next 10 years were a blur of deployments and homecomings. Michael was gone for 6 months at a time. Sometimes longer. I learned to be independent. I learned to fix the garbage disposal, to mow the lawn, to scare away the raccoons that got into the trash cans. I learned to sleep alone, to eat alone, to parent alone. Emma was born during one of his deployments. He missed the birth. He saw her for the first time when she was 3 months old. He cried when he held her. I had never seen him cry before. "I'm sorry I wasn't here," he said. "You're here now. That's what matters." I believed that. I believed that every moment we had together was precious, that the sacrifices were worth it, that he was a hero not just for his country but for his family. I believed in him completely. That was my mistake. If you've made it this far, you can probably feel what's coming. Before things get real, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and drop a like. I promise you, you do not want to miss what happens when Kate starts digging through Michael's things. Let's keep going. The funeral was a week later. Full military honors. A chaplain. A firing party. A folded flag presented to me with the words that every widow dreads and deserves. On behalf of a grateful nation. Emma held my hand. She didn't understand why so many people were crying. She kept looking around, searching for her father, as if he might appear from behind a tree. "Where's Daddy?" she whispered. "He's here, baby. He's in our hearts." I want him to come out of my heart. I didn't have an answer for that. After the funeral, people came to the house. Casseroles. Flowers. Stories about Michael's bravery, his kindness, his sacrifice. His commanding officer, a man named Colonel Briggs, pulled me aside. "Michael was a hero, Becky. He saved his men. He died doing what he loved." "What exactly happened?" "I can't discuss the details. Operational security. But I can tell you that his actions prevented a much larger tragedy." "Was he in pain?" The colonel's face flickered. "He died instantly. He didn't suffer." I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. But something in his eyes made me uneasy. A hesitation. A flicker of something that looked like guilt. I told myself I was imagining things. I told myself it was the grief. I was wrong. The first week after the funeral, I existed in a fog. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I just sat on the couch, staring at the wall, waiting for the phone to ring and someone to tell me it was all a mistake. Kate moved in to help. She's 2 years older than me. She's a paralegal. She's organized and practical and not sentimental at all. She's exactly what I needed. "You need to eat," she said. "I'm not hungry." "I don't care. Eat." She made me soup. She made me toast. She made me drink water, even when I didn't want to. She also started going through Michael's things. "What are you doing?" I asked. "I'm organizing." You can't live surrounded by his stuff forever. It'll drive you crazy. Asterisk. I don't want you to touch his things. Someone has to. And you're in no shape to do it. She was right. I wasn't. So I let her. I didn't know that she would find something. I didn't know that Michael's things held secrets that would destroy everything I thought I knew about my marriage. I didn't know that the hero I had mourned was not the man I had married. If you've made it this far, you're one of the few. Most people would have stopped by now. But you stayed. That tells me something about you. Hit that subscribe button and drop a like. What comes next? You don't want to miss it. Kate found the phone on a Thursday. Not Michael's government phone. His personal one. The one the military hadn't taken. The one he'd left in his nightstand drawer. She plugged it in. It still had battery. "Becky, you need to see this." "What is it?" "Just come here." I walked into the bedroom. Kate was sitting on the edge of the bed, holding Michael's phone. Her face was pale. "What did you find?" "Texts. Emails. Financial records." Asterisk. "To who?" "To other people." She handed me the phone. I scrolled. Messages to women I didn't know. Dozens of them. Going back years. "Can't wait to see you. Last night was incredible." I wish I could leave her, but she'd take Emma. My hands were shaking. My vision blurred. "Becky, there's more." She pulled up a bank account. Not our joint account. Here's something I learned in the days after I discovered my husband's secret phone. Grief and betrayal are neighbors. They share a wall. And when one gets loud enough, the other starts pounding to get out. For the first week after Michael died, I was buried in grief. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't look at my daughter without seeing his face in hers. But now, Now the grief was still there, heavy and suffocating. But something else had joined it. Something colder. Something sharper. Anger. Not the hot, explosive kind of anger that makes you scream and throw things. The cold kind. The kind that settles into your bones and stays there. The kind that makes you see everything differently. I looked back at my marriage through new eyes. The late nights. The unexplained absences. The way he'd sometimes look at me like I was a stranger he was stuck with. I had explained it all away. He was tired. He was stressed. He had seen things in combat that I couldn't understand. But now I knew the truth. He wasn't tired. He wasn't stressed. He was living a double life. And I was the fool who had believed every lie. Welcome back to Everyday Drama. Get comfortable. Grab your coffee. The truth is finally coming out. Drop a comment and tell us. What city are you watching from, and how old are you? And be sure to subscribe. You're not going to believe what Colonel Briggs admits. The day after I discovered Michael's secret accounts, I called Colonel Briggs again. He didn't answer. I left a voicemail. Colonel, this is Becky Henderson. I need to speak with you about my husband. I know about the money. I know about the women. And I know you're hiding something. Please call me back. He didn't call back. I called again. And again. And again. On the fourth call, his assistant answered. Colonel Briggs is unavailable. This is the 7th time I've called. I'm a widow. My husband died serving this country. I deserve answers. I understand, ma'am. But the colonel is very busy. Then give me someone who isn't busy. Give me his commanding officer. Give me the inspector general. Give me someone who will tell me the truth. I'll pass along your message. She hung up. I stood in my kitchen, holding the phone, shaking with rage. Kate was watching me from the doorway. They're not going to help you, she said. Then what do I do? You do what I do. You investigate yourself. She held up her laptop. I've already started. I found the name of the bank in Germany. I found the name of the shell company Michael used to transfer money. And I found something else. What? There was an investigation. An internal military investigation into Michael's activities. It was opened 6 months before he died. My blood ran cold. What was he being investigated for? Fraud. Bribery. Conspiracy to commit theft of government property. Kate turned the laptop toward me. Documents. Official-looking seals. Dates. Names. He was going to be court-martialed, Becky. He was going to be court-martialed, and he knew it. So his death. His death might not have been an accident. The room spun. I grabbed the kitchen counter to steady myself. You're saying Michael was killed? On purpose? I'm saying it's a possibility. He had enemies. The people he was working with in Germany, they weren't nice people. If he was about to expose them, or if they thought he was going to expose them. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. If you've made it this far, you can probably feel what's coming. Before things get real, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and drop a like. I promise you, you do not want to miss what happens when Becky starts digging deeper. Let's keep going. The next few weeks were a blur of research and phone calls and dead ends. Kate and I worked together like detectives. She was good at this. Her paralegal training made her meticulous, thorough, unafraid to ask hard questions. I was less useful. I was still grieving. Still struggling to reconcile the man I thought I married with the man I was discovering. But I kept going. For Emma. For myself. For the truth. We contacted lawyers. Military whistleblowers. Journalists who had covered corruption in the armed forces. Most of them wouldn't talk to us. They were scared. They said things like, "This is above my pay grade, and I can't confirm anything. And you should drop this before someone gets hurt." Someone gets hurt. That phrase haunted me. Before someone gets hurt. Kate, do you think we're in danger? I don't know. But we should be careful. Don't tell anyone what we're doing. Don't post anything online. Don't talk to strangers. You sound paranoid. I sound like someone who's seen what happens to people who ask questions they shouldn't ask. I didn't argue. I just did what she said. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A woman named Sarah. She was the wife of one of Michael's fellow soldiers. We had met at a few army functions over the years. We weren't close, but we were friendly. She called me on a Tuesday night. "Becky, I need to talk to you." "About what?" "About Michael. About what he was doing." "What do you know?" "Not over the phone. Can you meet me tomorrow? Somewhere private." We met at a coffee shop on the outskirts of town. A place where no one would recognize us. Sarah looked different than I remembered. Thinner. Paler. Her hands shook when she picked up her cup. "Are you okay?" I asked. "No. I'm not. And neither are you. What do you know about Michael?" She took a deep breath. "My husband, Tom, was deployed with Michael. They were in the same unit. They were involved in the same things." "What things?" "There was a network. Soldiers smuggling goods. Taking bribes. Selling information. Michael was one of the leaders." I felt like I was going to be sick. Tom told me about it before he died. He was going to testify. He was going to tell the investigators everything. And then what? And then he died in a car accident. A single car accident. On a road he drove every day. They said he fell asleep at the wheel. "You think he was murdered?" "I know he was murdered. Just like I think Michael was murdered. They were going to expose the network. And someone made sure they couldn't. If you've made it this far, you're one of the few. Most people would have stopped by now. But you stayed. That tells me something about you. Hit that subscribe button and drop a like. What comes next? You don't want to miss it." I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything Sarah had told me. Michael wasn't just a cheater. He wasn't just a thief. He was part of a criminal network. A network that might have killed him to keep him quiet. And I had married him. I had loved him. I had borne his child, who was the man I shared a bed with for 10 years. I got up, walked to Emma's room. She was sleeping peacefully, her stuffed rabbit tucked under her arm. She looked like him. The same dark hair. The same stubborn chin. But she also looked like me. And I was determined that she would not grow up in the shadow of her father's crimes. "I'm going to find the truth," I whispered to her sleeping form. "I promise." The next morning, I called Colonel Briggs one more time. He answered. "Mrs. Henderson, I've been instructed not to speak with you." "By whom?" "By my superiors. By the people who are handling your husband's case." "There's a case? You told me there was no investigation." "I told you I couldn't discuss it. You lied to me." "I followed orders." "My husband is dead. My daughter's father is dead. And you're telling me you followed orders." Silence. "Colonel, I know about the smuggling network. I know about the bribes. I know about the investigation. And I know that Michael wasn't the only one who died." "Where did you hear this?" "It doesn't matter where I heard it. What matters is that it's true." "Mrs. Henderson, I strongly advise you to drop this. For your safety and for your daughter's." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm warning you. There are people who don't want this investigated. People with power. People who have already proven that they're willing to kill to protect themselves." The line went dead. He had hung up on me. I stood in my kitchen, shaking. Not from fear. From rage. They knew. They knew everything. And they were trying to scare me into silence. It wasn't going to work. All right, this is the moment everything changes. If you're still here, you're one of the rare ones. 94% of people scroll past without subscribing, but you stayed. That tells me something about you. Hit subscribe because what comes next? You deserve to see what happens when Becky goes public. Kate and I decided to go to the media. Not the local paper. The national outlets. The ones with resources, with lawyers, with protection. We contacted a reporter from the Washington Post who had written about military corruption before. Her name was Helen Vance. "Nori Lesjin. I've heard rumors about this network," she said. "But no one has ever come forward with proof." "We have proof. Bank statements. Emails. Phone records. Can you verify them?" "We're working on it. Get back to me when you can. And be careful. People have died trying to expose this." People have died. Sarah's husband. My husband. Maybe others. I thought about Emma. About what would happen to her if something happened to me. Kate, if anything happens to me, you take Emma. Promise me. Nothing's going to happen to you. Asterisk. Promise me. I promise. But nothing's going to happen to you. I wished I believed her. The next week, we received a package. No return address. Postmarked from Germany. Inside was a thumb drive. And a handwritten note. This is everything. The names. The dates. The transactions. Michael was going to give this to the investigators. They killed him before he could. Don't let them kill you too. I plugged the thumb drive into my laptop. Hundreds of files. Spreadsheets. Scanned documents. Photographs. Evidence of a smuggling network that stretched across 3 continents. Evidence of bribes paid to high-ranking officers. Evidence of soldiers who had died to protect the secret. Including my husband. Kate, come look at this. She stood behind me, reading over my shoulder. This is huge. This is everything. This is what Michael died for. This is what Michael was willing to die for. He was going to expose them. Or he was going to use this to save himself. We'll never know. I looked at the files. At the evidence. At the truth that had been hidden for so long. What do we do now? Kate asked. We give this to Helen. And we let the truth come out. If you've made it this far, you're one of the rare ones. 94% of people scroll past without subscribing, but you stayed. That tells me something about you. Hit subscribe because what comes next? You deserve to see how this story ends. Helen published the story 3 weeks later. It was on the front page of the Washington Post. Above the fold. Corruption network exposed inside U.S. military. Multiple deaths linked to cover-up. The story named names. Not all of them. Helen was careful about what she could prove. But enough names. Enough evidence. Enough to trigger an official investigation. Colonel Briggs was suspended pending review. Several other officers were arrested. The smuggling network began to unravel. And Michael's name was everywhere. Not as a hero. As a criminal. As a man who had been part of something terrible, and who had died because of it. I didn't know how to feel about that. Part of me was relieved that the truth was out. Part of me was devastated that the world now knew what my husband really was. Emma was too young to understand. She wouldn't read the articles. She wouldn't see the news reports. She would only know that her father was gone, and that Mommy was sad. Is Daddy still a hero? She asked one night. I looked at her. At those eyes that were so much like his. Daddy made some bad choices, sweetheart. But he loved you. He loved you very much. Is that enough? I don't know. I hope so. She nodded, satisfied, and went back to coloring. I sat in the living room, staring at the wall. Michael had been a liar. A cheater. A criminal. But he had also been the father of my child. The man I had loved for 10 years. The man I had mourned. Both things could be true. Both things were true. And I was learning to live with that. The investigation lasted for 2 years. Soldiers went to prison. Officers were demoted. The smuggling network was dismantled. I testified before Congress. Not because I wanted to. Because I had to. Because I was the one who had the evidence. Because Michael had trusted me, even though he had betrayed me. Mrs. Henderson, did you know about your husband's activities? No, senator. I did not. Do you believe he was murdered? I believe he was killed to prevent him from exposing the truth. Whether that was murder or a military operation gone wrong, I don't know. But I know he died because of what he knew. And how do you feel about that? I feel complicated. He betrayed me. He betrayed our daughter. But he was also trying to do the right thing in the end. He was going to expose the network. He was going to tell the truth. Does that forgive his other sins? No. Nothing can forgive those. But it makes him human. And I think that's all any of us can be. The committee was silent. Then the senator nodded. Thank you, Mrs. Henderson. You're very brave. I wasn't brave. I was just tired. Tired of lying. Tired of pretending. Tired of carrying the weight of Michael's secrets. I wanted to go home. I wanted to hold my daughter. I wanted to forget. But I knew I never would. Here's something I learned in the 2 years after Michael's secrets became public. Closure is a myth. There's no neat ending. No moment where everything suddenly makes sense and you feel whole again. There's just time. Time to process. Time to grieve. Time to learn how to carry the weight of what happened without letting it crush you. I testified before Congress. I fortsatt med min uniform skvirm under åt. I saw the faces of the people who had covered up my husband's crimes and his death. Some went to prison. Some lost their careers. Some just faded away, transferred to other posts, other assignments, other chances to hide. The smuggling network was dismantled. The truth was out. Journalists wrote books. Documentaries were made. My face appeared on screens across the country. The widow of a criminal who was also a hero, or a hero who was also a criminal. No one could quite decide. And through it all, I just tried to survive. For Emma. For myself. For the life I still had to live. Welcome back to Everyday Drama. Get comfortable. Grab your coffee. This is the final chapter of Becky's story. Drop a comment and tell us. What city are you watching from, and how old are you? And be sure to subscribe. You're not going to want to miss how this ends. The first year after the investigation was the hardest. Emma started asking real questions. Not the simple ones. Where's Daddy? But the complicated ones. The ones I didn't know how to answer. Mommy, was Daddy a bad man? We were sitting at the kitchen table. She was eating cereal. She was 8 years old now. She had his eyes and my stubbornness. Daddy did some bad things, sweetheart. But he wasn't a bad man. He was a man who made bad choices. What's the difference? I put down my coffee cup. A bad man is someone who wants to hurt people. Daddy didn't want to hurt anyone. He wanted to help his family. I searched for the words. He just didn't know how to do it the right way. Is that why he died? Part of it. Did the bad men kill him? I looked at her. She was too young for this. Too young to understand the darkness that had swallowed her father. Yes, baby. Some bad men killed him. Did you catch them? They caught themselves. They went to prison. Good. She went back to her cereal. I stared at the wall. She was only 8. But she was learning things no child should have to learn. If you've made it this far, you can probably feel what's coming. Before things get real, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and drop a like. I promise you, you do not want to miss what happens when Becky finally gets the letter. Let's keep going. Helen, the reporter who had helped us expose the network, called me a year after the story broke. Becky, I have something you need to see. What is it? I found a letter. From Michael. Addressed to you. He wrote it before he died. He gave it to someone for safekeeping, and that person just came forward. Where is it? I can send it to you. Or I can read it to you. Send it. I want to hold it. The letter arrived 2 days later. It was in a plain envelope. No return address. My name written on the front in handwriting I recognized immediately. Michael's handwriting. I sat on the couch for a long time before I opened it. Kate was next to me. Emma was at school. Do you want me to leave? Kate asked. No. Stay. I opened the envelope. Pulled out the letter. The paper was creased. The ink was slightly smudged, as if he had been crying when he wrote it. Dear Becky, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. I've done terrible things. Things I can never take back. Things that will hurt you when you find out about them. But I need you to know that I loved you. I loved Emma. You were the only good things in my life, and I ruined even them. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm just asking you to understand. I was in too deep. By the time I realized what I had become, it was too late to turn back. They would have killed me. They would have killed you. So I played along. I did what they said. I became the man they wanted me to be. But I kept records. I kept evidence. And before I die, I'm going to make sure someone gets it. I hope you never have to see this. I hope you never find out what I did. But if you're reading this, you already know. I'm sorry, Becky. I'm so sorry. I love you. I always loved you. Michael. I read the letter 3 times. Then I handed it to Kate. She read it. Her eyes filled with tears. He knew, she said. He knew he was going to die. Yes. And he still went on that mission. Maybe he wanted to die. Maybe it was the only way out. Do you believe that? I looked at the letter. At the words, I love you, written in his shaky handwriting. I believe he was trapped. I believe he made terrible choices. I believe he loved us, even if he didn't know how to show it. Is that enough? It has to be. If you've made it this far, you're one of the few. Most people would have stopped by now. But you stayed. That tells me something about you. Hit that subscribe button and drop a like. What comes next? You don't want to miss it. I started therapy a few months after the letter arrived. Not because I was crazy. Because I needed to talk to someone who wasn't Kate, who wasn't Emma, who wasn't a reporter. Someone who could help me sort through the chaos. Dr. Rosen was in her 50s. She had kind eyes and a calm voice. She didn't judge me when I told her about Michael's lies, about his crimes, about my own guilt for not seeing the truth. Why do you feel guilty? She asked. Because I should have known. I was his wife. I slept next to him for 10 years. How could I not know? Because he didn't want you to know. Because he was a skilled liar. Because you loved him and wanted to believe him. That sounds like an excuse. That sounds like the truth. You're not responsible for his choices, Becky. You're only responsible for your own. I wanted to believe her. I tried to believe her. But guilt is a stubborn thing. It doesn't leave just because someone tells you it's not your fault. The second year was better. Not good. Better. Emma was thriving. She was making friends. She was getting good grades. She was learning to play the piano. She still asked about her father sometimes. But the questions were less urgent. She was starting to accept that he was gone, that he wasn't coming back, that the version of him she remembered was a version she had created. What was Daddy like when you first met him? She asked one night. I thought about that night at the bar. The confident smile. The easy laugh. The way he made me feel like I was the only person in the room. He was charming. He was kind. He made me feel special. Was he handsome? Very. Is that why you married him? Part of it. I also married him because he made me laugh. Because he made me feel safe. Because I thought he would always protect me. But he didn't. No. He didn't. Emma was quiet for a moment. I won't marry someone like that, she said. I'll marry someone who tells the truth. That's a good plan, sweetheart. I kissed her forehead. Turned off the light. Good night, Emma. Good night, Mommy. If you've made it this far, you're one of the rare ones. 94% of people scroll past without subscribing, but you stayed. That tells me something about you. Hit subscribe because what comes next? You deserve to see how Becky finally finds peace. I started painting again. I hadn't painted since college. Michael thought it was a waste of time. You're not going to make a living painting, he said. Focus on something practical. I stopped. I let his criticism silence me. But now he was gone. And I was learning to listen to my own voice. I painted landscapes. The mountains near Tacoma. The ocean at sunset. The garden behind our house. Kate bought me supplies for my birthday. Canvases. Brushes. Paints and colors I had forgotten existed. You're talented, she said. I'm rusty. You're talented. Keep going. I kept going. The third year after Michael's death, I sold my first painting. Not for much. A few $100s. To a woman who saw it in a coffee shop and said it reminded her of her grandmother's farm. I cried when she handed me the check. Not because of the money. Because I had done something Michael said I couldn't do. Because I had proved him wrong. Are you okay? The woman asked. I'm fine. Just happy. She smiled. Walked away. I framed the check. Hung it on my wall. It was small. Insignificant. But it was mine. Kate moved back to Seattle after the second year. She had her own life. Her own job. Her own apartment. She couldn't stay with me forever. You'll be okay, she said. Will I? You've survived worse than being alone. I hugged her. Held on longer than usual. Thank you. For everything. For finding the phone. For not giving up. You would have done the same for me. Asterisk. I hope so. She left. The house felt empty. But I was learning to be okay with empty. All right, this is the moment everything changes. If you're still here, you're one of the rare ones. 94% of people scroll past without subscribing, but you stayed. That tells me something about you. Hit subscribe because what comes next? You deserve to see how Becky's story ends, for real this time. The final closure came from an unexpected source. A woman named Sophia. She had been Michael's mistress. One of them, anyway. The one he had been closest to. She contacted me through Helen. I want to talk to her. I want to apologize. I almost said no. I almost told Helen to tell her I wasn't interested. But Kate convinced me otherwise. You need this. You need to hear what she has to say. What if she just wants to hurt me? Then you hang up. But what if she wants to help? We met at a coffee shop in Seattle. Neutral ground. Public. Safe. Sophia was younger than I expected. Mid-20s. Dark hair. Nervous eyes. Thank you for meeting me, she said. I'm not sure why I did. Because you want answers. And I'm the only one who can give them to you. She took a breath. I didn't know about you at first. Michael told me he was divorced. He told me he had a daughter, but that he never saw her. He told me his ex-wife was crazy. That sounds like him. When I found out the truth, I was devastated. I wanted to leave him. But he said he would change. He said he was going to leave you. He said he loved me. He said that to me too. I know. I'm not proud of what I did. I'm not proud of any of it. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that he wasn't a monster. He was broken. He was lost. He was a man who didn't know how to be good, even though he wanted to. That doesn't excuse what he did. No, it doesn't. But it might help you understand. I looked at her. This woman who had shared my husband's bed. This woman who had been part of his lies. Did he love you? I think he wanted to. But I don't think Michael knew how to love anyone. Not really. Not the way you're supposed to. Then why did I marry him? Because you saw something in him that he couldn't see in himself. And you hoped he would become that person. I started to cry. I'm sorry, Sophia said. I'm sorry for everything. Thank you. For what? For telling me the truth. For not making excuses. She nodded. We sat in silence for a long time. Then I got up. Walked out of the coffee shop. Left her behind. I didn't forgive her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I understood her. And understanding, I was learning, was the first step toward peace. Here's what I learned in the 3 years after Michael died. You can love someone and still be angry at them. You can mourn them and still hold them accountable. You can miss them and still be glad they're gone. Grief is not a straight line. It's a circle. You think you're done, you think you've moved on, and then something pulls you back. A memory. A smell. A song on the radio that you haven't heard in years. You don't get over it. You get through it. And then you get through it again. And again. Until one day you realize you've been through it so many times that it doesn't hurt anymore. It's just a scar. A reminder of something that happened a long time ago. I don't forgive Michael. I don't know if I ever will. But I don't hate him anymore either. I just accept. He was my husband. He was Emma's father. He was a criminal and a liar and a man who died trying to do the right thing. All of those things are true. And I can carry all of them. Last week, Emma and I visited Michael's grave. We don't go often. It's too painful. Too complicated. But it was the anniversary of his death, and Emma asked to go. Daddy, she said, looking at the headstone. He can't hear you, sweetheart. I know. But I want to talk to him anyway. I stepped back. Let her have her moment. I forgive you, Daddy, she said. For the bad things you did. I know you didn't mean to hurt us. She paused. I miss you. I wish you were here. But I'm glad Mommy is strong. She turned to me. Can we go now? Yes, baby. We can go. She took my hand. We walked to the car. I didn't look back. The drive home was quiet. Emma fell asleep in the back seat. Her head rested against the window, her mouth slightly open, her breath fogging the glass. I thought about Michael. About the man I married. About the man he became. About the man he wanted to be. I thought about Sophia. About her apology. About her confession. I thought about Kate. About her loyalty. About her courage. And I thought about Emma. about her future, about the woman she would become. She would be strong. She would be honest. She would be everything Michael wasn't. Because I would make sure of it. We got home. I carried Emma inside. Put her to bed. Then I sat on the porch. The sun was setting. The sky was orange and pink and purple. I thought about the years ahead. The challenges. The joys. The ordinary moments that make up a life. I thought about the painting I was working on. A landscape of the mountains at dawn. I thought about the woman who bought my first painting. The check still framed on my wall. I thought about the letter. Michael's last words. I love you. I always loved you. I didn't know if that was true. I didn't know if anything he said was true. But I knew that I was still here. I was still standing. I was still fighting. And that was enough. The end. Thank you for listening to Gentle Drama. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment and tell us. What city are you watching from, and how old are you? Have you ever had to reconcile loving someone who hurt you? Subscribe for more stories about grief, betrayal, and finding the strength to go on. And remember, you can love someone and still let them go. You can forgive someone and still protect yourself. You can honor the past and still build a future. See you next time.